All right, what is going on? What is happening? How's everyone doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'm going to give you guys my top 8 SMGs you guys need to be using here in Warzone. You guys really seem to love that top 8 last time, so today we're going to be dedicating this video to strictly SMGs here that you guys need to be using. But before any farther into the video, I want to give a massive shout out to the Noti Gang. If you guys will be featured in a future video, make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, the notifications turned on. Make sure you guys comment down below Noti Gang, and of course, watch the video all the way through. With that being said, let's get into these setups. Okay, so our first gun here today, we're going to be building the MP40, so let's go ahead and build this thing. This is the Ruin variant, by the way. It's got a CDL cam on it for you guys that are wondering. First thing on here going to be that recoil booster. This is going to help out with our TTK quite a bit for all these Vanguard SMGs. So we're going to be running this on a majority of them. So they're going to throw on the recoil booster. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go throw on the VDD 189mm short barrel. This is the new meta barrel that people have been running. This is kind of like more or less that Joe Woe build. Basically, gives you a lot of movement. It allows you to be pretty like agile and stuff, because before we're using the Crow Snake, and that was going to be a little bit more detrimental to that, but we are still running the VDD here on this build. Now in the underbarrel section, we're going to go through on the M1941 hand stop. There, I was about to say I can't find it for a second, but this is what we have on there to help that recoil control. Definitely need that here on this build. In the magazine section, we're on the 7.62 Garanko 45 round mag. This really helps out. This is kind of what we were running beforehand, and we're going to be still running it here today. In the ammunition side of things here, we're going to be throwing on good old hollow point. Hollow point actually works out pretty nicely. You guys can throw on that, or you can throw on lengthened. I've kind of experimented around with hollow point here more recently. It doesn't feel like it's all that nerfed. It still feels pretty beneficial. So hollow point or lengthened, either or is going to be beneficial for you guys. In the rear grip section, though, we're going to go throw on pine tar grip here for recoil control and hip fire accuracy. This helps out a lot with this build in particular, because that Crow Snake barrel would do a lot more recoil control for us, but because we have that short barrel on it, it definitely does not do that, and that's why we need this here. Now in the optics section, this is where we're going to be a couple of different things that are going to be able to be used. We have the Nardar Model 47, which it can be used. We have the Slate Reflector, which can be used. I think that's actually pretty solid. You can also go down here and run the Crow Snake ISOM1 iron sights. Basically, these are pretty solid. You guys can get away with running either of them, though I wouldn't necessarily recommend running the iron sights on maybe this specific variant, because those wings can get in the way. I'd say for this one, probably the Slate Reflector is to be the way to go. So it's really personal preference at the end of the day, though you will get a slight bit of an ADS benefit for running this, instead of the Slate Reflector. But there's no downside to running the Slate Reflector or the Nidar. In the stock section, we're on the Crow Snake 33M folding. This could be real good here, so definitely go through on this thing. And now in the perks, we're going to go through on Brace. Brace actually is pretty solid. Initial firing recoil, we absolutely love this thing, so I'd go ahead and run that. And then for perk 2, we're gonna go throw on Quick here for sprint speed, and this is overall a really good build here for the MP40. Definitely give this one a shot. Absolutely love it. And it's a top tier meta SMG build. Next up, we're going to be throwing on the Welgun here for our build. So let's make a class with this thing. In the muzzle category, we got the recoil booster. Obviously, like I talked about here previously, we're going to throw this on the majority of those Vanguard SMGs. In the barrel section, we're running the Gawain short here. This is going to increase our fire rate. We used to be running the Shrouded, but that's really not going to be it anymore. I'd recommend the Gawain short. This seems to be very good for overall mobility. Don't worry about those cons. It's not really going to be all that impactful to you at all. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go throw on the M1941 hand stop, which is the last attachment you get right here. So go throw this on. It's going to really help out that recoil control. Definitely need it on this build in particular. In the magazine section, we have the 7.62 Garanko 40 round mag. Similar with the MP40, got to run that Garanko stuff. You know what I'm saying? It works out very nicely, and this is overall the best magazine on this thing. In the ammunition side of things, you guys can either run hollow point or you can run lengthened. It's up to you. I personally ran hollow point. One of my gameplays here recently, I found it to be pretty beneficial to run hollow point, so you guys can just go run that. In the rear grip section, we're going to go through on leather grip here for ADS speed, aiming stability. I got a question last time talking about why don't I use fabric grip here. That's just because we lose accuracy with that, and we're not trying to do that. And this thing already can sometimes hit bullets. I feel like maybe it goes everywhere. We're trying to limit that as much as possible, so the leather grip here is going to be a great attachment for mobility without causing us any cons. Now in the optics section, we're going to go through on the Slate Reflector. You guys can also run the Nidar Model 47, but I always pretty much exclusively see the Slate Reflector whenever I pick it up off ground loot or something else like that. Just run the Slate. It's going to be the best thing out there. Don't ever mess with the iron sights. They're really not all that great. In the stock section, we're going to go through on the remove stock here for movement speed, sprint to fire, and ADS speed. I just love this thing. This makes this gun unbelievably agile, very mobile, and it makes you run around like really fast. Now in the perk section, we're going to make this even faster by throwing on acrobatic for movement speed and sprinting move speed. Gotta love that. It's a really solid perk in here. And then in perk 2, we're going to go throw on quick here for increasing that sprint speed and overall just making us an absolute madman running around Rebirth Island. Y'all have seen me dominate with this thing for good reason, because it's unbelievably good. So give this one a try. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the Owen Gun. So the Owen Gun is really solid, though it's got that magazine that kind of gets in your way. It's still unbelievably good. So let's jump into this thing first. Must category, of course, recoil booster as is. Well, like I said, we got to run this in all those Vanguard SMGs. Barrel section, we're on the Hawkinson 142mm Rapid. This is really good, though. It is going to increase your recoil, so you just got to be on the lookout for that. So just know that you should be running this, though. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go through on a course that M1941 hand stop. Got to make sure we're controlling this recoil to the best of our ability. So the hand stop is going to be able to do that for us. In the magazine section, we're going to go through on the Garanko 72 round drum here, the second one in. This is going to increase our fire rate. And of course, we got that recoil booster and the barrel that's going to help increase the fire rate. So this could be a real fast TTK weapon. So like I said, it's going to have a little bit of recoil, so you're going to have to be able to watch out for it. In the ammunition side of things, we're going to go once again and throw on hollow point. Hollow point seems to work out really nicely for this, but once again, you can also run lengthened if you really feel like it. But for the instance here, we're on hollow point. Now in the rear grip section, we're going to go throw on leather grip here for ADS speed, aiming stability. The same sort of thing with the Welgun. We don't want to lose accuracy, and we've already lost enough by boosting the fire rate quite a bit. So we're definitely not trying to do that. In the optics section, we're gonna go throw on the slate reflector here. You guys can go ahead and run something. I believe it's down here. It is the slate 2.5x, and you flip it up to that top reticle. That pretty much puts you on top of the gun, so you're not going to be looking at that magazine in your peripheral view. So if you guys want to, you can go with that. But I mean, to be honest, I just go with the slate reflector, and I just kind of like deal with it, just because I'd rather not deal with like the way that actually zooms in. I don't like it, so slate for me. In the stock section, remove stock here. This is going to drastically make us more mobile, so that's why I run that. And then in perk 2, and perk 1, my bad, not perk 2, we're going to go throw on acrobatic here for movement speed and sprinting move speed. And then in perk 2, we're going to go throw on quick here once again, like we have been, for increasing that sprint speed once again. Now this is my full build here for this thing. Love this gun. Owie is an absolute unit. And I also like this really cool tracer I got. It's like from like a Valentine's Day pack. All right, now let's go ahead and build the Modern Warfare MP5. This thing's really good. By the way, this camo on here, you can't do this anymore. I just had it saved as a variant. Otherwise, you cannot literally put the Vanguard camos on the Modern Warfare SMGs or any other guns. So this is kind of like the last right here. Like I don't have any other, stuff saved. So this is why the only reason I have it on here. So let's jump into this muzzle category. We're going to throw on the mono suppressor. That's just what I always run. I think the mono is just kind of the way to go on this on the end of the gun as opposed to the integral. It looks better to me visually, and there's not really much of a difference. I just think the iron sights look a little bit cleaner, and that makes it ultimately easier to use. Skipping the barrel section, going to the underbarrel, we're going to throw on the Merc foregrip here. This thing has great hipfire accuracy, so we got to make sure we accentuate that. And this also helps the recoil control, which is definitely a good thing. In the magazine section, the 45 round mag works out very nicely. Don't mess around with this auto 30. It's really not all that great. Just use the 45. Now we're going to go straight into the stock section, and we're going to go through on the FTAC collapsible here for movement speed and ADS speed. This is really good for making us more agile, more mobile. Gotta love that. And then of course, then for our perk, we're actually running a perk on this thing. We're putting on sleight of hand, and the reason we're running sleight of hand is because the reload speed on this thing can be a little bit slow, and we're not trying to get caught with our pants down, like basically reloading when some of those other SMGs out there have faster reloads. And I just think sleight of hand works very nicely with this thing. So I'm going to throw this on here. This is my full build. Absolutely love the Modern Warfare MP5. It's almost arguably better than the Cold War MP5. All right, next up in here is going to be the OTS-9. This is a tried and true, classic meta SMG. This is pretty much like, it was like OTS Zone for a while because that's pretty much all people were using. So let's give you guys a build here for it. So muzzle, obviously the groove suppressor. We got to run this thing on here just because we're trying to make sure we, accentuate all the benefits of, the range and the recoil control and stuff like that. Because this will bounce around a little bit. In the barrel section, we're going to go through on the task force barrel here. I mean, we just got to run the task force on this thing. There's no real ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just run the task force. It's the best thing out there. Skip the underbarrel section, go into the magazine. We're going to go through on the VDV 40 round fast mag. Absolute fast mag on this thing. I don't run this any other way just because it's really not beneficial. I mean, if you guys ever remember this from ground loot, it was really chalked when it had a regular mag on it, not a fast mag. So go run the fast mag. Just don't ever look back. Run this thing exclusively. Now going to the rear grip section, we're going to go through on the serpent wrap here to increase our ADS time. I personally really like running this with a rear grip instead of like, a laser or an underbarrel. This thing just works out super cleanly, and I feel like I'm an absolute unit when I'm using this. So the serpent wrap is the way for me. And then to finish off this whole build here, we're going to go through on the KGB skeletal, which is going to ultimately increase our ADS fire move speed, aim, walking, and of course that sprint to fire time. All these attachments pair really nice together, and you're going to be ADSing and flying around the map like it's no tomorrow. So definitely going to give this one a try. This is a tried and true classic meta SMG. Love this thing. Real good. All right, for next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Cold War MP5. I feel like it's only fitting that I gave you guys a build for this thing because I gave you one for the Modern Warfare MP5. So let's jump into this thing here. First, on the muzzle, agency suppressor. As always, got to make sure we're using the agency. That's how you make this gun effective. Skipping the barrel section, going straight to the under barrel. We're going to throw on the bruiser grip here for movement speed and hipfire accuracy. Absolutely love this thing. I think it works out really nicely, though you guys could definitely switch out the bruiser grip for something like in the laser and go with like a Tiger Team Spotlight, and that's going to work out pretty nicely as well. So for the instance here, let's just throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight, but you can switch out between the bruiser or this and it'll be perfectly fine. Now into the magazine section, we're going to go throw on the Stenag 50 round drum. That's just kind of the way to run this thing. You never really want to run the Salvo 50 round fast mag. It doesn't do too much damage to your ADS time, but I just kind of think the Stenag 50 round drum works out pretty good. And I've really never had issues with it. I've never had complaints on the reload time ever. After that, in rear grip section, we're going to go throw on the Serpent Wrap here for increasing the ADS time. I normally wasn't running this, but I really found a liking when I started switching this out and asking my friends what they were using. And they were saying that they're using the Serpent Wrap, so I tried it out and I was like, you know, this thing really hits, so definitely go to give this one a try. And for our last attachment, of course, that Raider stock. This is going to just really help round out this whole build here, give us more mobility. And I mean, you lose a little bit of hip fire accuracy, but you're really not hip firing with the Cold War MP5. You're pretty much ADSing like 99% of the time. So at least when it counts, you are. Maybe if you like finish somebody off and they're down, I guess you can hip fire. But pretty much this is my full build here. Give this one a try. Absolutely love this thing. Really solid and super agile. Now let's take a look at a gun that's made a resurgence here recently, the Milano. This is also the red room variant you get for going into the bottom house. The bottom white house is what I call it, pretty much right next to Grandma's, which has that loadout station on Rebirth. You go in there, if you're first person in there, you get this red room variant and you'll unlock it. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do it. But this is basically this variant here that you get from it. And so let's jump into a build for it. First thing on this, agency suppressor, as always, got to run that. In the barrel section, we are of course going to be throwing on the task force barrel here. That's what makes them a lot of the most effective it can be, is having the task force. We're actually going to go straight into the laser section now and throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight here for movement speed and aim locking movement speed. Gotta love that. It just works out very nicely with this, though you can definitely throw on a bruiser grip. It's also one of those guns where you can switch it out and it really won't be too much of an issue. In the magazine section, we are throwing on the Stenag 55 round drum. This has got a beautiful reload speed. I mean, I've never had issues with this either, much like the Cold War MP5. So go throw on the 55 and pretty much call it a day. Now, in our last option, we're to go through on the Raider stock. This is really going to round out this build here. It's pretty much very similar to what we ran on, you know, the Cold War MP5 or just all the other Cold War SMGs. Very similar build, but that's just because a lot of these attachment combinations work out pretty nicely. So this is my full build here. Milano's an absolutely great SMG, and I had a lot of fun using it. I dropped some 30+ kill games. I mean, it's real good. And for our last gun here today, I figured I got to give some love to the newly and more recently buffed Bizon. This is the last weapon in Warzone that got touched with an update here about like a few days ago. So I definitely got to use this one. And of course, it's the Chuck Walla variant. It's kind of like my little variant here. So that's the reason I bought it. It's not that it looks any good, it's just it's my variant, so gotta throw this on there. But basically, muzzle category, mono suppressor. That's just kind of what you do for all the Modern Warfare SMGs. In the barrel section, we're gonna go with the 8.7 steel here because it's just the best one out there for this gun. It's also the first one you unlock, which is really nice, so go throw that on there. In the laser section, we're gonna go throw on, what is it, the 5MW laser for hipfire accuracy and sprint to fire speed. Really like this on this gun. It just makes it a little bit more agile, and I think you definitely need that with this weapon. We're skipping the magazine, going straight to the rear grip, and we're gonna go throw on the stippled. The reason we're skipping also the magazine is because it's got like 64 round stock, and that's kind of ridiculous, so we don't need to do anything there. So we're just gonna go throw on stippled here for, you know, ADS speed and sprint to fire speed, which is good. And then we're also, for our last attachment, to go into the stock section, and we're going to throw on the no stock here. This increases our movement speed and aid and down sight speed, so you definitely gotta love this. We're trying to make this thing to be able to compete with all the other SMGs out there in their metas, so definitely go and give this a try. This is my full build. This has been my top 8 SMGs. If you guys enjoyed today's vid, give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new, and just our noticeable cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.